hello again, precious friends. Welcome back once again to Aunt Patty's Kitchen, and we're going to, as promised, make a wonderful recipe with our Carnoodles that we made in the last video. We're going to be using our wide shortcut Carnoodles that we made. This is one recipe. It ends up being about between 150 to 160 grams of noodles, depending on how dry the little crepes were that you made. But it'll be somewhere 150 to 160 grams of noodles. Okay. Anyway, so of course, as we always do, we'll start with hardware. Hardware is very simple today. We're going to have our skillet, 12-inch skillet, which of course has the 9-inch cooking surface. Any skillet that's of the appropriate size for you will do. An appropriate spoon for our nonstick skillet. And I've just got a little vessel that I can use to dip excess fat out of the pan if I decide that the ground beef has rendered a little too much fat to suit me. So here we go. And our wetware, our software. We have here a pound of ground beef, which you'll notice I have broken up into little bits. I like to break my ground beef up before I cook it because I don't like what happens to ground beef when you just put it in the pan in a big block and start mashing it around. I think that makes the ground beef have a dry, unpleasant texture. So I break mine up ahead of time, and we're going to season it by sprinkling it with a half a teaspoon of salt, because that's how much salt I like for a pound of ground beef. I use half a teaspoon of salt per pound of meat when I season most kinds of meat, but you use the amount of salt that you like. Okay, our skillet is heating up. Yes, it'll be hot in just a moment, and we'll put the ground beef in. Also, we have 4 ounces of sliced mushrooms. These are traditional with beef stroganoff, but if you're not eating vegetables, just leave them out. And again, 3 ounces of diced onion, which is a little bit less than a third of a cup. Again, if you're not eating veg, just leave it out. We have also 3 ounces of red wine. You can leave this out, but it may not taste like beef stroganoff. 4 ounces of beef broth. This is just purchased. You can use your own if you want to. A tablespoon each of red wine vinegar and Lea Perrins. You'll notice I said Lea Perrins, not just Worcestershire sauce. Don't bother if you're not going to use Lea Perrins, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, you know, you do you, but if it's not Lea Perrins, it's not real. You're probably tired of me saying that by now, but I won't stop. And we have a half a cup of sour cream. Okay, our pan appears to be hot, so we're going to just move right on over here, and we're going to load our ground beef right into our pan. And because we have broken the ground beef up already, we can just spread it evenly out into the pan. And allow it to, I'm going to raise the temperature a little bit. And just allow it to begin to brown. You don't even really have to do anything with it just yet. It's been seasoned, and we're just going to let it go and be happy. Having its little spa day. I'm going to raise the heat a little bit. I want it to stay nice and hot. So I have the cooktop on power level 600 and a temperature of 460. I probably should have let it get a little bit hotter before I put the beef in. It's bogged down a little bit, but that's okay, because most of the flavor comes from all the other stuff we're putting in anyway. So this is from the last video. We don't need this, so let's move that. And this is going to just keep cooking. You'll notice I'm not stirring it and tossing it around. That's unnecessary because we've broken it up. I am just truly convinced that this is the right way to make ground beef crumbles. I like the texture and the flavor of the ground beef so much better. I don't know why it tastes different when you do it the other way. Just throw it in a block and mash it around. But I think it has to do with the fact that it loses a lot of its natural moisture when you do that. And it makes it an unpleasant texture, and it really changes the taste. So please, take the time to crumble up your ground beef ahead of time. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, especially if you don't particularly like ground beef. You may be surprised at how much better you like it if you don't abuse it. So now that we've got some browning on this, I'm going to move this back and I'm going to take some of this fat out. Really is not cooking very fast. I'm going to raise the temperature. That's as high as it goes. I should have let the pan get hotter. But we are getting a little bit of browning. I'll see if I can't edit this to make it a little bit shorter, because I don't want this to go too long. This really is a very simple and easy and fast recipe if you can, when you get it down. So I'm going to take some of this liquid out, because I don't want all of this fat. This is 80-20 ground beef, and I think it's just putting off a little bit too much moisture. There we go. And the moisture is preventing the pan from getting hot. Part of this is to do with the fact that this cooktop, I'm still not 100% used to it yet. But it's so much easier for you to see what I'm doing using this cooktop than using the stove back there in the corner. Okay, so the meat is cooked enough. There's still a few little pink pieces, but it doesn't have to be all brown. You can have a little pink bits, because we're going to cook it some more. So we're going to remove the beef from the pan. There's a nice little bit of fat left in there, which is just fine because we're going to be using that. And in fact, we're going to put a little bit of the fat right back in there, about a tablespoon's worth. And we're going to heat the pan up again, nice and hot. And we are going to put our vegetables in. Now, like I said before, if you're not eating vegetables, you just skip this step and go straight on to the rest of the video. Once we get to that point. Alrighty, we're going to put our onions in. Again, this was 3 ounces of white onion, but you could use yellow onion. We're going to get that started. I love the smell of fried onion. I think that you can be carnivore and use judicious amounts of vegetables. Of course, that's just me and my hubby, the way we do it. We have really good results with eating, probably maybe about 10% of our food intake is vegetables. We don't eat vegetables in this amount with every meal. A lot of times our meals are just ground beef patties and eggs, or steaks, or, chicken thighs. So recipes like this are what I do, maybe twice a week. But as I have said before many times, you have to do you. You have to do what's right for you. My hubby and I feel like we can get away with a little bit of veg now and then, and we enjoy it. But if you don't tolerate it, you just leave it right out. We're going to put a little bit more fat in because I want this to get nice and sizzly. These mushrooms need to start letting their liquid out. They're going to start letting their liquid out, and their liquid is going to dehydrate and caramelize on the bottom of the pan. And that's part of what gives beef stroganoff its traditional flavor. But there's so much other good stuff, yummy stuff to season this up with that if you're not going to eat the mushrooms, it's still going to taste delicious. Yeah, there's just nothing like a caramelized onion. I'm sorry. That's one thing that even if I had to go completely carnivore for my health, that's one thing I would miss is caramelized onions. Okay, we're going to let that go for just a minute. And in the meantime, because we're getting close, I am going to go ahead and put a lid on this, and I am going to reheat this with just a drop or two of water in the microwave for between 30 seconds to a minute, just until it's warm while this finishes. So I've got a lid. I've just put a few sprinkles, a few drops of water in there. I am going to we're going to start with 30 seconds. And in the meantime, these are pretty much done. You can see how much it's shrunk down. You can see that the mushrooms have begun to brown, and so have the onions. So now we're going to add the red wine. And we're going to let that cook down. We're going to add our Worcestershire. And we're going to add our red wine vinegar. And I forgot my pepper grinder, of course. Where is my pepper grinder? There it is. We're also going to be putting in a good dose of pepper in here. Black pepper. I'm probably going to be putting about between a quarter and a half a teaspoon. Oops. The phone. I turned the ringer off, but there's still somebody on there trying to call me. Oh well. We're going to wait till this is almost all the way cooked down. I'm checking on the noodles. Now they're not quite done, so we're going to do another 30 seconds. Because we just want them hot, warm, because they don't need to be cooked anymore. This is almost reduced enough. This smells really good. Now, it's just a little tiny bit of red wine left in here, so now we're going to add the beef broth. And we are going to add our beef back in. I could eat it just like this, but it's even better with the sour cream in it. I'm also going to get some of my dried parsley flakes just because I'm a garnish junkie. I'm a garnish monkey. Now this liquid is going to finish cooking up whatever is left pink in the ground beef, which is again why we didn't have to worry about cooking it through in the first browning phase. You don't have to brown it at all, but I like to because I think that it lets off a little bit too much fat and it makes the dish a little too oily for me, plus the fact that we're going to have sour cream in it, so we don't need the extra beef fat because it's going to have enough fat as it is, in my opinion. You can go ahead and break up any of the bigger lumps that you see that you feel like are too big. And we're going to check on our Carnoodles. They're nice and warm, they're moist and tender. We're going to leave them covered until we're ready for them. And I'm guessing that the beef broth has reduced by about half at this point. And we're going to introduce our Carnoodles. Traditionally, beef stroganoff is served over the warm noodles, but I think for this particular type of noodle, I think it's better stirred in. Now we're going to turn off the heat. Always add your sour cream off the heat. This is probably a little bit more than a half of a cup of sour cream, but that's okay. There's plenty of heat with the heat off to melt the sour cream. Adjust this so that you can see it better. These Carnoodles will soak up some of this sauce, and the sour cream will thicken it up somewhat. So if it's just way too watery for you, you could put a little bit of xanthan gum in it, but I don't think it's necessary. There we go. See how fast that came together once we got the meat took care of. Once we got the noodles. The noodles will keep for at least a week in the refrigerator. I don't know if they'll freeze. I haven't tried it yet. I will try it and let you know how it goes. Now, some nice black pepper. That's between 1/4 and 1/2 teaspoon. You do how much you ever, however much you like. And as I have said before, because I'm a garnish monkey, and just because I like parsley, I do like the taste of parsley. So there it is, my friends. Low carb, high protein, moderate fat, ground beef stroganoff. Not a pasta noodle in sight. I'm going to serve some of this up here. Whoops. So much better than like Hamburger Helper. Ha! I'm going to get a fork and we're going to taste it. Oh, my little doggy sneezing. That's what that sound was that you heard there. Here we go. Look at that. I think it looks just delicious. The tanginess of the sour cream and the red wine vinegar against the rich taste of the noodles and the ground beef is really, really delicious. And I would say I wouldn't say you'd never know it wasn't pasta, but it certainly is reminiscent enough of pasta that if you're just pining for something that's, a little bit like comfort food, I think that this is going to go a long way. Towards helping you stay on your low carb journey. Well, short and sweet, my friends. Excuse me, way better than the last couple of times when we had like 40-minute videos. But carnivore noodles, Carnoodles, and ground beef stroganoff. As I said before, if you're not doing veg, just skip the part with the mushrooms and onions and just go straight through to the seasonings, and it will be delicious. I guarantee you're going to love it. That is all for right now, precious friends. I love you all. I wish you peace, love, and meat, and we will talk again real soon. Bye.